Hello everyone and welcome back to another weapon showcase. This time we're using the Halberd and its R1s are thrusting stabs. Because thrusting slashes would be weird, right? Its R2s are going to be alternating slashes and its running attack and backstep R1 is going to be an overhead chop. When two-handed, your R1s are thrusts, your R2s are double spins, and your L2 is the skill charge, which you can actually extend the length of. You can continue to charge by pressing R2 in the middle of the attack. As far as this weapon is concerned, in PvP it is a very reliable, very fun, and very easy to use weapon that I have really just always loved. It's just a fantastic weapon and I've always enjoyed it throughout all of the Souls games. I will say, I think I like it the best in Dark Souls 3. So let's get started with the basics on this weapon. The Halberd requires 16 strength and 12 dexterity in order to wield. At plus 10, it has a base damage of 250, and it has a D scaling in strength and a C in dexterity. That said, of course, you can infuse it, and I personally like to have mine along the refined infusion, just because that is what's best for my quality build. When I do that, it's a significant difference, so usually I deal more damage than I am in this video, and that's the kind of scary thing about it. Now, with this weapon, I've already gone over its moveset, so it's relatively straightforward. It's got a good varied moveset, and with that, you are in a good position for many situations. With it, you of course do want to wear the Leo ring just because its R1s are decently quick thrusts. You can actually get some good counter damage on them, and understandably, that's something you definitely would want to aim for. Other than that, that's really all I've got for the basics on the weapon. Now, pros of this weapon, of course, the varied moveset will be invaluable. The fact that it does so well with its thrusting attacks is, of course, spectacular. The double spin is actually incredibly useful because you can actually do charged attacks in this game, and with that double spin fully charged, you can deal some significant damage. And because people will not expect the double spin to be charged, they'll run into it more often than not. Aside from that, it actually has a strangely good amount of tracking on its R1s, and I actually really like that because you can have people who will dodge around you sideways, and if you time your R1 properly, you'll turn towards them and successfully hit them, which is of course a very good thing. And when you're not using your R1 and working on your timing with that, you can actually get them with an R2, especially if you play unlocked. An unlocked one-handed R2 is extremely dangerous. And when you do charge your R2, when one-handed, you actually seem to shuffle forward a fair distance when you actually release the attack. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Now, with this weapon, its running attack covers a very long distance, so, of course, people don't always necessarily expect to be within range. It's great for chasing people down, which is, of course, a huge benefit. And aside from that, it makes a good finishing move. Same goes for its rolling one-handed R1 as well, because that comes out very quickly. As you guys can see, I use it for punishing people more often than any other attack on this weapon, which isn't necessarily a good thing because I should be focusing on punishing encounters with my R1s, whether one-handed or two-handed, but the rolling attack is just so convenient that it's hard to pass up on. As far as the skill is concerned, with that, I, more often than not, do extend the range of the attack by pressing R2 in the middle of it. The reason for that is because they're a bit familiar with the range that it normally would have. So they can easily underestimate how far you'll travel when you actually extend the length of that attack, when you actually charge farther. Damage-wise, it's pretty decent for that skill. It's a multi-hit attack, so people can, on occasion, slide off to the side. I've only actually had it happen once, and aside from that, it has really, really good tracking, so I wouldn't really worry about it terribly much myself. And honestly, I don't worry about it. Ever. Chances are I get at least one hit every single time. Maybe it's the final hit, maybe it's a starting hit. If it's a starting hit, fine. I will keep running off the side of them and I'll be too far away from them, be punished. If it's an ending hit, that's even better because it will most likely stun them and then they'll try and panic roll away, and I'm okay with that happening too. Now, as far as cons of this weapon are concerned, its attacks are actually very, very telegraphed. It can actually be sight parried relatively easily. That said, most of the people I fought didn't end up attempting it at all, which is strange considering how often people attempt to parry in this game. But that said, most people didn't attempt to parry against this weapon for whatever reason. Its skill is easily parried. Its R2s are extremely easily parried when one-handed. The charged R2, I'm actually not sure if it can be parried. I would assume that it can, but I'm honestly not sure. I've attempted it myself and I've never successfully done it yet in this game, but I'm assuming it can. Other than that though, other cons of the weapon, its speed, it does leave a little bit to be desired. It's great for chasing people down and it's great if you're somewhat patient, but otherwise, you know, it can get you into some tricky situations. Also, another huge con of the weapon is that its hyper armor, it's not very good. I mean, yeah, in a lot of cases, it will not compare to most weapons. If you're going against a straight sword, a rapier, an S-stock, that sort of stuff, then yes, it's about the same. But I've actually had an S-stock hit me with an R2. Yes, someone actually did an R2. And it broke my poise with this weapon, and then they went into their R1 spam. So that said, its poise is not, or its hyper armor is not overly spectacular like a lot of other weapons in the game. Not a huge deal, but something to definitely keep in mind. Other than that, another con of the weapon, sweet spots. Sweet spots are in fact a thing with this weapon, if I'm not mistaken, because I have noticed some very large damage discrepancies between certain attacks, whether I'm close or far, depending on what part of the weapon I hit with, and that doesn't necessarily count counterattacks as well. More often than not, when I do get a counterattack, I do have proper distancing to hit with what would appear to be a sweet spot. Maybe I'm wrong, I could very well be, but it seems to me, from my experience with the weapon, that it does have a bit of a sweet spot mechanic to it, so that is something to keep in mind. If I'm wrong, go ahead and tell me in the comments, but from my experience, that's how it felt, so it is what it is. Other than that, it's just a really great weapon. It's reliable, it's strong, it's got a great varied moveset, it's good for chasing people down, it's good for countering, good for punishing, its running R1s can chase people down, its L2s can chase people down, and you can deal some really silly damage. Other than that though, that's pretty much all I've got to say on this thing. One other pro that I actually just remembered from seeing that fight, its damage on a riposte is actually incredibly high. So whether you use a Hornet Ring or not, you'll deal some pretty great damage on critical hits. But other than that, I really don't have much else to say about the weapon. I like it, it's good. If you haven't tried it out, then I would recommend it. But anyway guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video, found it helpful in one way or another. Please like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and I will see you guys next time.